Focus Black Oklahoma is sponsored by the Black Church Traditions and African American Faith Life program at Phillips Seminary, offering a master's degree in social justice online and in person. Learn more at wherefaiithleads.com.
This is Focus Black Oklahoma. I'm Kuma Roberts.
And I'm Jacob Littlebear.
On November 5th, Monroe Nichols was elected Tulsa's first black mayor in the city's 129-year history. FBOs Jamie Glisson followed Nichols and his team for the day.
A powerful moment unfolded in Tulsa, a city with a storied past of both resilience and tragedy. In an era marked by division, the election of Monroe Nichols IV as Tulsa's first black mayor marks a significant moment in the city's history, with many seeing it as an opportunity for unity, progress, and a renewed sense of community pride. Born into a family of public servants, Nichols' journey reflects Tulsa's long tradition of service and commitment to community, and the call to serve runs deep. His grandfather was a pastor, his father a police officer, and his mother a PhD recipient and professional in criminal justice and education. In 2016, Nichols made history as the first black person elected to represent District 72 in the Oklahoma House of Representatives. Now, as a 4-term legislator and a strong advocate for education, healthcare, and criminal justice reform, Nichols has extended his commitment to the people of Tulsa. According to the Oklahoma State Election Board website, the 2024 election results have yet to be certified. But the election board does provide the following vote tallies. In this year's mayoral election, a total of 137,453 votes were cast. Monroe Nichols received 76,467 votes, securing 55.63% of the total. His votes included 5,370 absentee ballots, 9,527 early votes, and 61,570 votes on Election Day. Karen Keith received 60,986 votes in total, with 4,927 absentee ballots, 6,564 early votes, and 49,495 votes cast on Election Day. Precinct 720031 had the highest support for Nichols, with 1,052 votes for him and 155 for Keith. Meanwhile, Precinct 720203 had the most votes for Keith, with 1,142 votes for her and 661 for Nichols. On the morning of November 5th, Nichols started the day by walking to his polling station to vote in Midtown. Later, surrounded by loved ones who traveled from Waco, Texas, artist Marlon Hall led Nichols and his family on a tour of one of Tulsa's latest murals, Doorways to Hope, a tribute to the community's resilience. Located under one of the overpasses that divides Greenwood and has long symbolized economic hardship for North Tulsa, the election stirred excitement throughout the city. Here's Vice Chair of the Oklahoma Democratic Party, Corey Williams.
I'm excited for Monroe on a personal level, but I'm excited for the opportunity that Tulsa has to truly have a visionary leader with the ability to make life better for literally every demographic that occupies the city.
That evening, the Greenwood Cultural Center was filled with anticipation and excitement. Small business owner Gina Acosta echoed those sentiments.
Monroe cares. Monroe Nichols truly cares, and he's showing up, and he's continuing to show up, and he has a plan, and he has things in place, and he has a great support system, and it's only forward from here. I'm so excited.
Tulsa has a long legacy of resilience that predates Black Wall Street, a community of Black excellence and economic vitality built from the ground up, only to be destroyed in the 1921 Tulsa Race Massacre. This city has seen its share of struggles, but the spirit of Black Wall Street lives on, embodied today in Nichols' vision for Tulsa's future. His plans to expand economic opportunities, improve education, and invest in public safety are not only a roadmap for growth, but a continuation of the dreams first planted over a century ago. Leading up to the election, Nichols faced a challenging campaign. His opponent and current Tulsa County Commissioner, Karen Keith, hired campaign advocacy management professionals, also known as CAMP, to run her campaign. CAMP's founding partner, Robert Fount Holland, according to Holland's bio on the CAMP website, is, quote, widely credited with the Republican takeover of the Oklahoma House of Representatives in 2004, ending an 83-year drought. 6 years later, he played a vital role in Republicans winning a majority in the Oklahoma Senate for the first time in state history, end quote. In the case State of Oklahoma versus Joy Hoffmeister, Stephanie Dawn Milligan, Stephen Crawford, Layla Odom, and Robert Fount Holland, a direct quote from Holland is buried deep in the affidavit responding to Hoffmeister, who had received an email from Aaron Madden of the Oklahoma Education Association, or OEA, concerning her participation in a candidate interview panel for the 2014 State Superintendent for Public Instruction election. Quote, "We will lose if they endorse us. I can give them some ideas about how to be savvy and truly helpful. A little savvy would make OEA unstoppable. The question is, are they for us, and can they be quiet and stomach our right-wing rhetoric long enough to get what they really want, a pro-education environment for our state?" End quote. After a barrage of false claims against the Monroe for Mayor campaign, Keith declared in a public panel discussion that she, quote, "stands by and approves," end quote, all the messaging she and her staff have put out, including a claim that the late Senator Jim Inhofe had endorsed her, an assertion that Inhofe's daughter publicly refuted. But election results showed that amid these challenges, Nichols' message of unity and integrity prevailed. As Nichols took the stage to deliver his acceptance speech, the air was thick with pride and optimism as he reminded the crowd that change is made possible by the collective power of people who care.
There's a good one out there who still questions if Tulsa is a place where big things are possible. If there's anybody out there who doubts that no matter who you are, you can make an impact, tonight, you got your answer.
For Nichols, this moment is more than a milestone. It's a mission.
As I speak here right now, there are thousands of people who are preparing to sleep on streets. Let's not forget that the future of our young people is not quite yet guaranteed. Let's not forget that economic inequality still threatens our city's vitality. Let's not forget that crime continues to impact our neighborhoods. And let's always remember our obligation to make sure that the relationships that are still strained with the city and our tribal nations is smoothed over. I say all that to say the challenges ahead of us are stubborn challenges. They are immense challenges. Our time to impact them will be short, and it will also be difficult. But in Tulsa, we do not shrink from our challenges.
As the new mayor-elect embarks on this journey, he carries the hopes of a city that voted for transformation. Tulsa has embraced a new leader, one who will work to build a brighter, more inclusive future. And as Nichols himself reminded us, the work has only just begun as Tulsa steps boldly forward, no longer defined by division, but united by a shared vision of hope and opportunity for all. For Focus, Black Oklahoma, I'm Jamie Glisson in Tulsa.
In the fall of 2020, Michael Hill, a black citizen of the Cherokee Nation, woke up in the middle of the night to the sound of someone banging on the windows of his home. He called police for help, but the police arrested Michael in his own front yard. When trying to get his case heard in tribal court, he was rejected because though he has tribal citizenship, he has no blood quantum and by federal law is not legally an Indian. His story is told in a newly released Audible original documentary called Tribal Justice: The Struggle for Black Rights on Native Land, reported and written by two award-winning indigenous journalists, Allison Herrera and Adreanna Rodriguez. The following excerpt is the second installment of FBO's broadcast of the documentary.
Angela Walton Raji, a genealogist and historian, definitely didn't know about this history growing up. Angela's family lived in Fort Smith, Arkansas, right across the border from Oklahoma.
For me, growing up in the 1950s, I also grew up in the midst of the civil rights era. My dad, with a very strong identity, became active in the civil rights movement. He was president of the Fort Smith NAACP at one point. So it was an interesting time to come of age.
She went to a Black elementary school and lived in the Black part of town a few blocks from her great-grandmother, Sally. Every day after school, Angela would go to Sally's house.
She was my official caretaker. I'd always wake up in the afternoon in her bed. I also remember that she dipped snuff. She had a little can, a little tin can, and there's this brown stuff in it. And sometimes if she wasn't looking, I'd smell it, and it was like really, really pungent.
She recalls one evening when Sally's brother came for a visit.
He had a little bit of a beard. They were on the back porch, and the two of them were speaking another language. I didn't understand what they were saying. I was trying to listen, but, I was always kind of shooed away.
The memory of her great-grandmother Sally on the porch speaking a language she didn't recognize, that really stuck with Angela for years. Finally, in 1991, when Angela was 40 years old, she decided to go to the National Archives in Washington, D.C. to do more research on her family, including Sally.
Even as a child, I knew that the family was tied to the Choctaw Nation, but to what degree, and I wasn't always able to process that.
She knew Sally was Choctaw. That was the language she had been speaking on the porch. But there were other parts of her past that were still a mystery, until that day at the archives.
And that really started me on a different kind of journey. I found things that one would assume other people knew, and I found that most people didn't know.
But not long after she started scrolling the microfilm scans of Choctaw enrollment cards, she saw something that caught her attention.
Images were rolling by on the screen. When file number 777 showed up, there was the Walton family. And I remember laying back going, that's them.
She had found her family.
There was Choctaw Nation at the top, very broad across this document called enrollment card.
The enrollment cards are pieces of paper listing what tribal nation you belong to.
And there were my great-grandparents, Sam and Sally.
Angela finally had some answers. Her great-grandparents were citizens of the Choctaw Nation. And while she felt an overwhelming sense of excitement and pride, she still had questions. Then she took a closer look at the rest of the columns on the card, and she noticed something she wasn't expecting.
And I see a cross from great-grandpa Sam's name, slave of Jim Davis. Look at Sally, she was my great-grandmother, and I look across her name, slave of Emmeline Perry. Whoa, I had to process that. What do you mean she was a slave? I knew her. By the time I'm coming back home with these documents, my head is spinning, and I'm trying to now associate a direct tie between someone whom I had known and loved to an institution of slavery in North America.
We don't know exactly how many enslaved people came on the Trail of Tears, but records show that by 1861, the 5 tribes in and around Oklahoma included at least 8,000 to 10,000 enslaved people, and Michael's ancestors were likely among them. In 1861, tensions over slavery erupted into civil war between the federal government and the pro-slavery South. Leaders of these 5 tribes sided with the South. After they lost, the U.S. government then needed a way to re-establish a relationship with the tribes. So the government made them sign treaties in 1866. Each tribal nation had their own treaty with its own terms. The Cherokee Nation had broken with the Confederacy and abolished slavery already. But the treaties between the U.S. and the Seminole and Muskogee nations required the tribes to free the people they'd enslaved and make them tribal citizens. The treaties with the Choctaw and the Chickasaw nations connected abolition to money. The federal government sold some of the tribes' land and said they couldn't have the money from the sales until the tribes abolished slavery. The Choctaw Nation decided to update their laws nearly 20 years later, and the Chickasaw Nation still hasn't. But all the descendants of those who were formerly enslaved are known as the freedmen of the 5 tribes, despite this history. Then, more than 20 years after those treaties were signed, the United States did something else that would affect citizenship and belonging in a way that Michael and descendants of freedmen like him are still feeling to this day. Because even though the United States had removed the 5 tribes to Indian territory to make way for white settlers, it wasn't enough. The United States was still eyeing tribal land for westward settler expansion, so Congress passed the Dawes Act in 1887. The simplest way to describe it is this. It took the land held in common by tribal nations and divided it up, so every tribal citizen would receive what's called an allotment or a parcel of land. To get a parcel, each person had to register on something called the Dawes Rolls. And here's where Michael and his family get separated from the rest of the Cherokee Nation citizens in Indian Territory. White federal government workers came to Indian Territory to make a list of everyone living there and decide how much land they would get. There were the individual Cherokee Nation rolls of people who were considered Cherokee, quote, by blood. Angela Walton-Raji remembers reading about it in newspaper accounts printed at the time.
Several newspapers reported the population of people who had been allotted lands. And you see it broken down by tribe. Now, on the Dawes Roll, there are 91,000 people.
There were the individual Cherokee Nation rolls of people who were considered Cherokee, quote, by blood. Then there were rolls for Shawnee and Delaware people who were adopted into the Cherokee Nation. And then there were rolls for freedmen who were citizens, but not by blood.
The roll in its entirety, all those categories. Out of the 91,000 people, 20,000 were classified as freedmen.
The stated purpose of the Dawes Rolls was to document tribal citizenship, but Angela has a different take.
The Dawes Roll itself, understand, was never a citizenship roll. The Dawes Roll was created to determine who's going to be eligible to receive land allotments so that once everybody has a land allotment, the remaining millions and millions of acres could now be opened up for white settlers to come in and form the new state that was about to emerge called Oklahoma.
The process of determining who could be enrolled as a citizen was flawed, to say the least. It involved someone from the federal government interviewing people, asking them about their families, and determining what degree of Indian blood they had.
How do you measure blood? When this final roll was created, you'll see all of the names of the people who were approved, regardless of their classification. Choctaws by blood, intermarried whites, freedmen, minors, newborns. Full, 1/2, 1/4, 1/8, whatever.
The Dawes Rolls for freedmen didn't have any percentages listed. They were classified as only Black, not Native and Black.
But there are people who were freedmen or classified as such who had Native fathers, who had Choctaw fathers. But their blood was not measured because their blood didn't count. As if their quote-unquote Negro blood, canceled out or contaminated their Choctaw blood? What kind of nonsense and what kind of racist nonsense is this?
Though the holiday season can be a time of joy and celebration, for some families it can be a time of struggle and stress. The Tulsa Dream Center works to address some of these disparities. Here's Danielle A. Melton with details.
There's something about the holidays, the sounds of kids laughing, the joy of being together that brings out the best in people. But here in Tulsa, for many families, the holiday season isn't always joyful. Nearly 17% of families in Tulsa live below the poverty line. And in North and West Tulsa, those financial struggles are even more severe. When you're focusing on getting by, things like holiday meals and gifts for kids can feel out of reach. For families facing poverty, the holiday season can be a time of increased pressure. Parents want to create happy memories with their kids, but with limited resources, that can seem impossible. It's a side of the holidays that's easy to overlook. This is where the Tulsa Dream Center steps in.
Our mission is for the people of Tulsa to know God and experience transformation.
That was Pastor Tim Newton, the executive director of the Tulsa Dream Center, or TDC. Founded in 2001 by Victory Church, TDC has become a fixture in North and West Tulsa, providing essential support all year long.
We reach the community through 6 primary areas: food, clothing, medical, education, recreation, and housing.
Their reach has made a huge impact. Last year alone, they served over 83,000 people through more than a dozen programs. But when the holidays come around, the Tulsa Dream Center ramps up efforts to bring joy through what they call the Season of Hope, which kicks off around Halloween and ends after Christmas, all to make sure every family, no matter their financial situation, can feel the holiday spirit.
Because our motto is we want to give hope and change lives.
The Season of Hope at the Tulsa Dream Center reaches far beyond just gifts. It offers so much more, from fall carnivals completed with rides and treats, to holiday meals and food boxes, ensuring families can share a special meal together. And at the heart of it all, a spectacular toy drive, bringing holiday magic to thousands of children in Tulsa who might otherwise wake up to an empty Christmas morning.
And our mission this year is to impact 10,000 boys and girls, giving them toys make sure that no child goes without something this holiday season.
For families like the Williams, who moved here from New Orleans, the Tulsa Dream Center has been a lifeline. Allison and Alvin Williams share how they've never seen anything like TDC back home and how the support they've received has changed their lives.
Coming up here, and we was living right around the street from over there. Our daughter was in elementary school, and we got connected with Pastor Tim, and they invited us to come over, and we went and had a couple words with them, and they told us about their program of getting our kids involved in their program. And
once we got here, it was one of the reasons I wanted to stay, because in Louisiana, the kids don't have opportunities and support like the Dream Center give the kids here.
Allison describes the Tulsa Dream Center as more than just a place for holiday help. It's been a foundation of stability and belonging.
And it comes times when we need things in the house, whether it's furniture or like pots, different things. They came through and bought us a lot of different things, throughout the time of us being here. They helped out a lot.
The Tulsa Dream Center has supported them with everything from household essentials to after-school care. Alvin shares what TDC truly means to him.
It impacted a lot. With me and my wife, we having 6 kids. It's kind of like a big challenge because I'm the only provider in our house because she focused more on taking them to doctor's appointment and bringing them to school.
Making Season of Hope happen, especially when it comes to providing gifts, requires the dedication of community partners like Chick-fil-A, the Tulsa Food Bank, and notably the Tulsa Big Wheels Motorcycle Club. Here's Pastor Tim Newton.
It is a collective community effort. There's not, the Dream Center is not a person. It is the people of city of Tulsa, that makes it happen.
Tulsa Big Wheels Motorcycle Club has partnered with TDC for over 12 years, bringing hundreds of toys to Tulsa kids. Mitch explains why this partnership means so much.
Well, I'm Robert Mitchell, and I go by Mitch. The Dream Center has allowed us a vehicle, to be a part of a lot of their different programs that involves a lot of other kids. And 12 years later, here we are.
Through the years, the Tulsa Dream Center has provided a powerful way for partners like Mitch and the Tulsa Big Wheels to engage with the Tulsa community, creating lasting impact. Pastor Tim speaks about their partnership.
We're able to partner with them and have a great partnership with them where they bring out 300 to 400 bikers out and car enthusiasts out to gather toys for boys and girls in our community.
Last year, families lined up for miles, a testament to the need and the Tulsa Dream Center's impact. Pastor Tim describes the scene.
You see all the guys in their leather, and they're passing out toys, and the most unusual suspects, with these big, huge, burly, bikers with their leather chaps and patches and everything and tattoos, and they're handing a toy to this little kid, and that's what it's all about.
For Mitch and Lil Wink, the secretary of Tulsa Big Wheels Motorcycle Club, seeing the community show up in force speaks volumes about the impact of these events.
Just to see the community come out when they go to receive the toys. A 4-mile radius, that speaks for itself.
Well, not only that, when we come from, Brookside down Riverside, we have people on the side of the road waving. It's like they're waiting on us. It's people just all over. We've gotten popular. It's very encouraging for us when we're riding to see that.
For the Williams family, these toys and gifts represent more than just presents under the tree. They are a reminder of a community that truly cares. Alvin reflects on how the support has impacted his family.
When it comes around Christmas time, the kids, they want so much, but we can only give so much, because we're trying to stay basically above water. But being next with the Dream Center, the Season of Hope, and it bless our family tremendously. I mean, if it wouldn't be for them, sometime our kids would have a dry Christmas.
As we find ourselves in this season of hope, you have the chance to be part of this mission and bring joy to Tulsa families. The Tulsa Dream Center welcomes donations of food, clothing, and household items. Simply text TDC HOPE, that's TDC HOPE, to 28950 to contribute. And if you have time to give, volunteers are always needed. Together, let's ensure no family feels left out this holiday season. For Focus Black Oklahoma, I'm Danielle A. Melton in North Tulsa.
You're listening to Focus Black Oklahoma. Bishop Sylvester Beeman, chair of the White House's Advisory Council on African Diaspora Engagement and longtime spiritual advisor to President Biden, reflects on his role in fostering connections between African Americans and the broader African diaspora. Here's our recent interview at Tulsa's historic Vernon AME Church, where Beeman shared his vision for strengthening ties and addressing challenges facing Black communities, both in the U.S. and across the African continent.
What a wonderful opportunity that President Biden afforded me to be the chair of this advisory council. The membership of the council consists of some of the most talented, gifted individuals who have been doing diaspora engagement for years. Wow. I was new. Okay. So when he called and said, would you join the council? I said, absolutely. Then about maybe an hour or two later, someone from his office called and said, the president said you said yes. Good. He wants you to be the chair. I said no. But eventually I kind of said, I landed on the position that if he is asking me to be the chair, then this was where God must want me to be. And so I was serving in Africa at the time. I was in South Africa, serving South Africa, Namibia, and Angola as the bishop. So I was in Africa. I have had, so before I became bishop in Africa, I had been to the continent 5 times. 15 times. What am I talking about? 15 times. I had been to the continent, mostly Southern Africa and West Africa. I've never gone Central Central once, but never to East Africa. And so I had this spirit in me about wanting to be part of the diaspora conversation. And President Biden invited African leaders here in 2022. And he had all these heads. And at that summit in DC, he and the vice president, soon to be president, birthed this idea of having a diaspora conversation, connecting Black people around the world. First and foremost, the diaspora community in the United States, and sensitizing us to the role that we must play to make the continent strong, and what role the continent could make to make the diaspora community in America strong. And then you got to start talking about the diaspora community in South America, the diaspora community in Canada, diaspora community in Europe. We are all connected, and we have to focus on what is happening to our people on the continent, economically, spiritually, as it relates to trade, economic development, sports and entertainment. And that sports and entertainment one is fire. It really is fire. Shanae Obumike leads that portion for the council, and it's fire. We just left Nigeria in June, and she's something else. And the energy she brings and the way the people responded to her. We also, and we are not there yet, but one of my conversations is, well, Black people in America who are dealing with all of the issues from Flint, Michigan, to the problems in Detroit, Newark, New Jersey, Harlem, Wilmington, Delaware, they're not going to have the capacity to talk about building Africa if we don't focus on answering some of our problems this side. And they go hand in hand. And so, we're getting there. The council in its conversation, we're getting there. But my role, it's a 2-year appointment. I'll be starting my 2nd year.
I want to ask you a little bit more about your visit here to Tulsa, Oklahoma, and to hear where we are, the historic Vernon AME Church. What reflections or what insights have you gained about the significance of this site in the context of African American history and in our ongoing struggle for racial equality?
When I turned the corner and we started coming down the street, the ancestors began to speak to me. It is, and I'm trying not to get emotional, it is, it's something. Now, in the Black community, we have play cousins. And the former pastor, Robert Turner, is one of my play cousins. His great aunt helped raise me. And so we connected that way. And it was really Reverend Turner who began to really stimulate my thinking. And I remember, it must have been a PBS station or something, where they did a documentary on Black Wall Street and the massacre. I could only watch one episode. I did not return because the anger that brewed up inside of me was not healthy. So it is, I'm here because I'm the bishop of the 12th Episcopal District, which encompasses Arkansas and Oklahoma. And I'm here for our annual conference where we meet annually with the pastors, presiding elders. They give their annual report, and we do some faith development kind of stuff. So I had to come because I'm the bishop. But I am so honored to be sitting in this space and to feel the ancestors who were here. And if I'm from Niagara Falls, New York, which is one of the last stops of the Underground Railroad. I remember when I went on the tour on the Canadian side, and we were in the basement, and the tour guide said, "Shh, listen, our ancestors will come out of the walls." And I did. I got still. And the ancestors, they came out of the wall and began to speak to me. I went to the synagogue, to the room of the point of no return. And I remember that exercise. And the tour was moving. I stayed behind because I wanted the ancestors to come out of the walls, and they did. And so I'm here.
Given your extensive experience in pastoral leadership and community building, what strategies do you believe are essential for fostering stronger ties between the African Methodist Episcopal Church and the broader African diaspora?
we were born in Philadelphia as a result of racial prejudice and inequality in the religious space, the Methodist Episcopal Church. But our founder had a strong Afrocentric understanding of who he was and his people. You got to remember, this is 1787. Now, there was no slavery, not legally, in Philadelphia. He was born in lower Delaware, where below the canal in southern Delaware, slavery existed. But above the canal, people were free. So he starts this movement, Bishop Richard Allen. But notice when it came time to name the church, we're talking about 1787 to 1816. He didn't call us the American Methodist Episcopal Church. He didn't call us the Black Methodist Episcopal Church. He didn't call us the colored Methodist. He didn't call us just simply the Methodist Episcopal Church. He purposefully said the African. And that is powerful to say, this is who we are. We are people from the African diaspora. So yes, it's important. And over the years, including Tulsa and OKC, all over Arkansas, these churches, like Vernon is a very old church. We've been rooted in the diaspora. And it's important that our ministry and our witness be relevant and speak to our people. And so I was talking with someone today and said, I'm hoping that in the 4 years that I have, and maybe 8, because I can come back for another 4, that we do some renaissance and revival. The renaissance to me is rebranding and redefining who we are as African Methodists, and that we speak to the heart of the people, bring their African connectivity and culture.
Greenwood Rising, The Rise of Black Wall Street is a new full-length motion picture that was released October 11th on the Fossum and Future Today streaming platforms. This movie centers on O.W. Gurley, a visionary and trailblazing businessman whose hard work laid the groundwork for Tulsa's Greenwood District and the prosperous Black Wall Street. The film's director, Aaron L. Williams, and lead actress Fatima Marie, who plays Emma Gurley, spoke with FBO's Cepeda Cheeks about the film.
It's like history. When they say history repeats itself, it's so true. You saw everybody talking about support black business, support black business. We hear about how in the black community, that's the one time the black dollar, it leaves the black community within 6 hours. But everybody else, it stays. Black Wall Street was the first time when the black dollar stayed in the community for years. And they saw prosperity and growth because of that. They had black banks. They had black schools, black education that made you feel like it was proud to be black. And my name is Aaron L. Williams, and I'm the producer, director, and writer of Greenwood Rising, The Rise of Black Wall Street.
Are you familiar with any reconciliation efforts, reparation efforts?
We put a little intact screen talking about the Supreme Court hearing on how the last 2 surviving victims were kind of denied that. And the reason why we wanted to add that as the last screen in the movie is so people can realize that a lot of times media can influence a lot of decisions that happens in politics. Just like the newspapers back then, we talk about that a whole lot. She said, we're not going to let the newspapers dictate our fate. But back then, the newspaper would dictate the fate of African Americans. They pretty much put Dick Rowling on trial in the newspapers. That inspired them to deputize the citizens to go march on Greenwood and burn it to ground over that 2-day massacre. We purposely put that last screen in there about how they were denied their reparations in one of the worst acts against African Americans on American soil in U.S. history.
Fatima, can you talk more about your connection with Emma Gurley, not just your portrayal, just overall her as a historical figure?
I love that she was a very strong woman. If you read about Emma, there's many things that she stood up for, even maybe when Girlie wouldn't. Like she's fighting for what she believes. I love her strength. I think that's so important that she's not a doormat, especially with O.W. Girlie, who is always in his head and has all these dreams, and he has a certain vision that he's kind of like bringing her along, right? But she's with him every step of the way. So you see strength in this woman, and I think it's amazing that she tells him, though, what about me? What about me? So she does stand up for herself, and that's what I love especially. And that's, I think, my favorite part in the movie. In all the different scenes, she's still fighting with him. She's by his side. She is a team player, and that's so important in a relationship. And I feel like that is what she brings in almost every scene. She's very positive. She's very inspiring. When she sees that he feels defeated, that's like his inspiration.
Without spoiling it, can y'all tell me y'all favorite part of filming this?
Without spoiling it, my favorite scene, because I love this movie, not just because I'm in it, but I love when he has a moment and she finally gets her piece because she feels that she never gets a chance to say anything, or she feels maybe that it's like he's forgotten about her, kind of. The focus is just him as usual in his dreams, and he's always in his head. So she finally gets her moment that's the one time in the movie he's really listening to her uninterrupted. It's a scene that may make some women cry. I actually cry when I watch it. I can relate to that. I think that a lot of women will be able to relate to this scene, and you really feel me, especially in that scene more than probably any scene, pouring my heart and trying to really let him understand, how I feel. And I think that's the one time that he finally gets it.
A film that is based in Tulsa, how do you get broader appeal to a broader audience out in the rest of the world?
So the film is about Tulsa, but Tulsa was a small representation of what the rest of the world was feeling. Because if you even just search Black Wall Street on Facebook, you realize you see a bunch of apps about Black Wall Street. See, one thing that is synonymous with African Americans across America is that they're trying to find that Black wealth in different areas. If they're not gifted to be that athlete or this, how can my business be successful?
Is there anything that we've missed that you would like to discuss? Anything that you would like to put out?
One thing I do want to bring light to is the platform that we're putting this film out on. It's actually coming out on Folsom, which is a minority-owned platform. So I think it's great that we can start to tell these powerful stories on a platform that is in itself minority-owned. I applaud Folsom on their willingness to take risks, telling powerful stories from people of color and stories that make a difference using their platform. But for an independent minority-owned platform to trust an independent minority-owned production company to tell these type of stories, I really have to give my hats off to Folsom. A lot of times we even get pigeonholed in the type of story. I can show you some emails I've had with other companies, and they're like, well, we're only looking for a hood movie or a thriller or a Christmas movie.
And Fatima, is there anything that we missed out on that you would like to say?
I think the main thing is, I think it's such an important story that really needs to get out. I hope that everyone does go to this platform and watches a movie, and they really need to do their research, and they can kind of see like, wow, this really happened. A lot of people are unaware that this happened, right? So it's so educational. It's so instrumental what Aaron did here, that he brought this story to life. I just hope that everyone truly gets a chance to see this great movie.
Tell us more about the platform.
Follow the network on Instagram and Facebook. Leave your comments so that we can engage with it. We've all been following the page and trying to follow success, so you can engage with some of the cast, engage with the network directly. One thing about their platform is I've noticed they respond to comments. Check out Folsom, download it, and let's try to support a network that's trying to support the independents, because that's what's needed in this market. Just like the story of Greenwood, it took a community supporting each other, and Folsom has positioned themselves to be that community.
Definitely, yes.
Greenwood Rising, The Rise of Black Wall Street, a historical drama that depicts the incredible history of Tulsa's Greenwood District and Black Wall Street, is available to stream on Roku, Apple Store, Google Play Store, and all smart TVs.
I appreciate being on with you.
Thank you so much.
For Focus, Black Oklahoma, I'm Cepeda Cheeks in Tulsa.
medicine, fashion, and film converge as Don Carter brings us the second of a 3-part series on Oklahoma's Black rodeo and culture. This series, as well as a photo exhibition featuring Black rodeo photos by Jamie and Richard Glisson of Impress OK Studio, is funded by a grant from Oklahoma Humanities. Please visit rodeo.kosu.org and sign up to receive further details on the February 1st, 2025 exhibition opening event.
Kendra Demery, a pioneering African-American equine therapist and member of one of the oldest African-American riding clubs, shares the incredible story of her family's legacy and her own groundbreaking path in equine therapy.
My grandfather, he is one of the original members still alive that originated the Beggs Mustangs. It's one of the oldest African-American riding clubs. Clarence Demery started it with a couple of guys from the Mogi area and Beggs, and they were one of the original Pony Express teams that made up Pony Express. It was a tradition. Black rodeos always start off with a traditional parade. So everybody will wear red and white. That was the riding club colors. Everybody ride in unison as a family. And it was important for everybody in the family to ride.
Demery's love for horses doesn't end there. She's also achieved a significant milestone in the equine therapy field, becoming the first African-American woman certified in this specialized line of work.
Sometimes they might have injuries, and it's like physical therapy. On horses, I do this stuff called PMF therapy, which I have a special blanket. It helps restore the blood flow. It helps with soreness. It helps with horses that might have any type of internal injuries like tissue damage or like a tear. I am certified to do it. I do even wound care. And so I help rehabilitate horses back to health. I even put programs together for competition. So I've worked on close to 800 horses since I've been in business.
Kendra's journey has been one of self-determination. Growing up in a rodeo family, she watched, learned, and taught herself everything she knows. Her daughter, following closely in her footsteps, is already making a name for herself.
Me being self-taught, that's how my daughter's learning. My daughter is a 2-year Pee Wee barrel racing champion, so this is her 2nd year riding, and she is a full force. I didn't have the advantage these kids have now. If you rodeo in a rodeo family, their parents rodeo. So they might be horse trainers. They might do the same event that they do. So they're able to jump from horse to horse, and their parents are investing in that where I didn't have that. I'm still putting the puzzle pieces together. Every day, I'm still teaching. I teach my little girl. Every time we're out riding, we're learning something.
Self-taught barrel racer, equine therapist, and mother, Kendra Demery is breaking barriers and redefining what it means to be a Black woman in the rodeo community, while cowboy, rancher, model, and aspiring veterinarian Taylor Williams has a journey that is deeply rooted in family legacy and community pride. Growing up around horses, he spent his summers with his grandfather, where his passion was ignited.
My first horse he's the one who had my first horse. He's the one who taught me how to ride.
Williams' grandfather, Fred the Lawman Williams, was a Black rodeo pioneer who created the Pony Express event, bringing communities together. Taylor talks about continuing that legacy, even as the challenges mount.
Back then, you can go to rodeos and it wouldn't be no shootings, it wouldn't be no fights. And now, teens lose, they get mad, they start arguing, this and that. And so when my dad came back, he tried to stop that and, clean up, Pony Express as a whole. So, it came from the Indian race. That's where my grandpa took it from, which is, the Indians would go to a racetrack, have like 4 horses each, and they jump on bareback, go all the way around the track, and then jump off the horse and then jump on the next horse and go. And, keep going until you get down to the last horse, and whoever finishes at the end wins. And that's kind of where my grandpa took it from, and kind of, modified it into like a 4x1 relay with track. And the name Pony Express came from, it used to be that's what mailman used to be called back in the day, was, Pony Express. Back then, you had to deliver mail fast.
Williams is dedicated to honoring his family's traditions while also balancing an impressive modeling career, representing both the rodeo lifestyle and high fashion on international stages, including Paris Fashion Week, modeling for labels such as Timberland and Louis Vuitton. Although his journey took an unexpected turn with modeling, his true passion remains in his studies to become a large animal veterinarian, a calling deeply meaningful to him.
I went to college, undergrad at Oklahoma State, where I majored in animal science pre-vet. And then after that, I took a year off. And then that's when I got into modeling. It wasn't something that I was wanting to do. I never did think of myself as a model or, say I want to be a model when I grow up. It was always, I just want to be a vet, and that was it. When God put something like that in my lap, it's my calling. And I've just been modeling ever since. And now I'm in vet school at Oklahoma State. It was my first year. So, just trying to go ahead and get my veterinarian degree and become a doctor.
Beyond fashion and rodeo, Williams emphasizes the deeper transformative power of horses in uniting communities and fostering Black joy. It's about changing perceptions and uplifting the Black rodeo community.
I see it strengthening, communities and bringing us together because, everybody be excited to see a horse. And so, when you bring a horse around, kids always, kind of ride this horse, and, and, everybody's worries go away when you see a horse. The legacy I want to leave is you don't have to just settle down and just be a rodeo person or, just be a rancher and not rodeo. The legacy I want to leave is I went and did everything a cowboy could do and even more. And even what people say I couldn't do, I still want to go do that. And so, that's just if he can do it, why can't I?
Brittany Taylor, filmmaker and poet, is on a mission to capture the spirit and resilience of Black rodeo culture through her recent project, Writing Legacy, an Oklahoma Black cowboy story. Brittany's journey into storytelling began in childhood through poetry and writing, but it was her exposure to film in school that opened new doors.
I was in the 7th grade, and I had this teacher. Her name was Miss Logan, and we did for a few months movie analysis. And it was a part of our curriculum. And we would sit there and we would go through film and we would learn things that you learn in English, like what is foreshadowing, what are all these things. And she would be connecting our writing to the film. And you kind of realize how interconnected everything is.
This fascination with narrative would eventually lead her to film, where she creates documentaries that capture the depth and struggles of the Black rodeo community. Taylor's work pushes beyond just aesthetics.
If we're being honest, I'm filming a cowboy film. I kind of have to embed myself into the culture. It's not to do any type of cosplay. I think it's more important to understand that the cowboy culture is so much more than an aesthetic and how cool it looks. It goes so much further than just what it looks like. Black cowboy doing cowboy things. I have a lot of opinions, and some may just be considered facts, but it's drawing a lot of attention, but I don't know if all attention is good attention because it's opening doors for exploitation. And I've said this a lot, and it's not just by outside communities.
Brittany's path took an exciting turn when her brother asked her to contribute poetry for a Black cowboy film. This led her to a deeper understanding of the sacrifices and joys within the rodeo world.
He says, I want to talk about how Black people are hidden gems and we're the forgotten treasure of America and we're overlooked and we're this and we're that. And I said, oh, okay, cool. So I basically did what any good writer and any good little sister would do. And I did the exact opposite of what he said. I said, forgotten treasure? Nah, we shine under pressure. Yeah, that. Black diamond, black opal, black onyx, black pearl. And then I continued on. And at the end, I said, forgotten treasure? Never. And so basically, it was a rebuttal to everything that he asked me to write about. This film is actually really good. It's actually really good. But when it opens up, and it's my poetry, and it's just sending chills, like, oh, like, wow. And that's the feeling that it gave everyone. And that's what made me realize that was such an important piece to storytelling.
Together, Brittany, Kendra, and Taylor represent the spirit and pride of Black rodeo. Their dedication preserves a history that's alive and thriving, a legacy for generations to cherish and carry forward. Brittany Taylor reminds us with her powerful words, forgotten treasure? Never. We shine under pressure. For Focus, Black Oklahoma, I'm Don Carter in Okmulgee.
Focus Black Oklahoma is produced in partnership with KOSU Radio and Tri-City Collective. Additional support is provided by the Commemoration Fund and Press Forward.
Our theme music is by Moffett Music.
Focus Black Oklahoma's executive producers are Quresh Ali Lanzana and Bracken Clark. Our associate producers are Smriti Iyengar and Jesse Ulrich.
You can visit us online at kosu.org or focusblackoklahoma.com and on YouTube at Tri-City Collective. You can follow us on Instagram at FocusBlackOK and on Facebook at facebook.com/FocusBlackOK.
You can hear Focus Black Oklahoma on demand for free at kosu.org, the NPR app, npr.org, or wherever you get your podcasts.
KOSU Business Circle memberships are ideal for small businesses looking to support public radio and get a little bit of airtime. To learn how your business can become a member, email development@kosu.org.